Where did it all start?
Well, it started in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
Where the situation got crazy. A drug deal went terribly wrong that me and a friend of mine were trying to conduct. And without getting into too much of my case, man, shots were fired. Someone was killed, and I was implicated in that. And while in trial, I got found guilty. And my lawyer told me once the jury heard drugs, guns, and murder, that's all they needed to hear to come back with a guilty verdict. So a lot of the aggravating and mitigating factors weren't even really addressed. I would say more of the mitigating factors weren't addressed. The aggravating factors worked well against me, but the mitigating factors weren't really addressed or even thought of. They were dismissed. And I got sentenced to natural life in prison. In other words, what that means is never to be released.
So how was it like when they said naturally life sentence? Like when you heard that?
When I heard natural life?
When you heard it, it's one thing when you hear like 5 years, 10 years, or 100 years. They gave Bernie Madoff
right.
like 10 life sentences,
exactly.
But they said natural life.
Yeah,
like how did that? What was your mindset when you heard that?
Well, the words natural life, to be handed that kind of sentence, man, it had a whole different effect as opposed to having gotten 1,000 years. You know, when you get a sentence that doesn't have a period behind it, that means it's open-ended and it's indefinite. And I don't have anything to compare it to because I never had a sentence like that before. But in my mind and in my heart, I really felt like I would rather be dead than try to live that out. Because to live that out is to do it until you do die. So how do you want to do this? You want to live long and die that way, or you want to die now and not have to worry about it? So that was my rationale after the shock factor wore off. Initially when I heard it, I was numb with shock to where my mind would not receive it. It kept rejecting it because what do you mean natural life? I'm 21 years old, and if I live to be 70, that would be 59 years in prison? I mean, that's incomprehensible. Who does that?
Who gives that?
Who gives that out?
Yeah.
First time offender?
So your family, before we get to your family, like, is there any, like, you was in there for what, 24 and a half years, bro?
24 and a half years.
That's like, there had to be some ups and downs, right?
Yeah, way more downs than ups.
Way more downs than ups. We'll get to the downs, but like, what was the upside of being incarcerated? Was it like, because there had to have been a point where you saw a light at the end of the tunnel also, right?
Well, that came way later on. I didn't see anything. I was blinded with a deep sense of grief. It was like a death. It was like watching myself suffocate. It was like watching myself suffocate and not being able to assist myself to get some air. Like somebody put a plastic bag over my head and I have to watch it. And I'm not able to poke a finger in my mouth to get some air. My hands are tied. And I can't close my eyes because it's in my mind. I'm always looking at it. So to watch myself slowly suffer, I can't describe that, man. I can't really put it in words. And I try. I'm a writer. I journal. And I love words. So I'm always trying to be descriptive in my expressions. But I can't. Nah, man, I tried to do that for the whole 24 and a half years. And I came pretty close sometimes. But when I looked at it again, I realized I was nowhere near it. So it was an absolute... It was a drama being played out, man, with no relief again and again and again. So it's a miracle that I'm sitting here, to be honest with you. Yeah.
So how does it feel like... I know you was telling me... You know, it's weird. Like 24 years ago, there was no cell phones. There was no internet, right? You had to get adjusted to a lot of things.
Yeah, and I still am adjusted.
How crazy? Yeah, we're at Panera Bread. You never even been to Panera Bread.
What is that? I never even heard of Panera.
They make sandwiches.
What type of bread is Panera?
Yo,
like I thought that was a type of bread when I first heard.
No, listen. They make like soups, but they also you get like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich here.
Even look, all of this movement around me has my attention. I'm looking at this camera, this phone, and I'm looking at you, but I see everything behind me. My environment trained me that way. My eyes are not going that way, but I'm paying full attention to everything moving behind me.
So let me ask you this. What was, if you had to say, I'm sure there was a lot of things together that, helped you get through this, but if you just had to say there was one main thing that got you through all of this, 24 and a half years. We ain't talking about, some people would be talking about, I did 12 months, I did 18 months, 5 years, 10 years, 24 and a half years, that's a long time. That's a really long time, bro. Like, what was the one thing that stood out the most that really helped you get through that time?
My family support.
Okay. Didn't they move or something like that?
They relocated. I'm from New Jersey, so...
Shout out to Jersey.
Yeah, that's right. Big city. Once I got sentenced, my mother and my sister, they relocated solely to support me. And I had no hope. I told you I wanted to die. I would have rather have died. When I went to bed at night and closed my eyes, I asked God to not wake me up in the morning because it was too heavy. I'm a pretty strong guy, but that weight was too much for me to carry for such a length of time. However, my hope was nurtured through their hope because I didn't have any hope. And my mother, she asked me to promise her that if she would continue to fight for me on the outside, that I would begin to fight for myself just to live. And my life was based on living long enough to get a visit from her the next time she came. That's all that mattered. And eventually, her hope beget my hope, and it kind of nurtured itself, and it sprouted, and it grew, and it kind of burgeoned into me developing this unrealistic belief that somehow, some way, I was gonna get out, man.
Was there like a moment where that really stuck out, like where you was like, damn, wait a minute, Ma, you might be right? Like, what was the light at the tunnel? Was it your mom, your sister? Was there a moment? Was there some news? Was there a scripture? Was God involved? Did they pray for you? Like, what was it?
It wasn't. I don't think it's fair to try to put it into this one moment, aha moment. The sky cracked open and I saw this bright light, or this one little instance of something magnificent. It was a series of small steps toward having this courage to hope in a hopeless place. And every visit, every letter, every time I was able to call home, every time I received any kind of mail from the outside, from a friend or my family, it was a reminder that I am somebody, because being in prison alone in and of itself and having such a lengthy sentence is constantly chipping away at your existence. You are nobody. You don't matter. 1 year goes by. You are nobody. You don't matter. 5 years go by. And people die. People stop writing. And people stop sending pictures, and they stop sending money as the time progresses. And you start to wonder, did I ever matter? Did I ever live on the street for 21 years before I came to prison? Like, what's real and what's a dream? Was I always here? Because the pieces of myself that I left out there before I came to prison, they're starting to get blurry. They're starting to fade, like Polaroid flicks. So you got this war going on in your head about who am I and who do I matter to. So the more I'm slipping that way, they call my name for a visit, and that sets me up straight. And then the more I'm slipping that way, they call my name because I got a letter from somebody, and that sets me up straight again. So the gravity of being incarcerated is constantly pressing me down. But my family's insistence upon showing up and supporting me was constantly pulling me back up. And eventually, with persistence and consistency, the pulling me up factor began to get stronger. And it was harder and harder to push me down. Now I'm getting my own legs up under me also. And now I'm becoming more and more immovable. And getting out of prison mattered less. What mattered more was saying I am somebody. Yes, I'm here. I've been here 5 years. I've been here 10 years, but I'm still somebody. And I'm sitting up straight now. And I'm looking people in the eye now. and my dignity is being restored. And while that's going on, getting out of prison was taking care of itself, and I didn't even know it, because that mattered less. What mattered was, you haven't died, you didn't kill yourself, so you have decided to try to live through this, or live while in this place. So live with a sense of self.
Did you read a lot while
Absolutely.
What was some of
my favorite books?
Some of your favorite books.
Sidney Poitier, Measure of a Man, Arthur Ashe, Days of Grace, Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom, Viktor Frankl's Mankind, Search for Meaning, Bruce Lee, which is one of my favorites. I can name a whole list of his books.
Be Like Water.
Be Like Water.
Yeah,
man. That philosophy carried me. So it was so many pieces that I gathered from a lot of different things. Kind of like Jeet Kune Do is a bunch of different things compiled into a style. So many different pieces and suggestions and advice from this movement of support that I gained worked together to establish a foundation that I could sit up on, and then I could stand up on, and then I could walk on. And excuse me. And I was going through this evolution. It was like a rebirth. In the Christian faith, it talks about what it means to be born again. I experienced that because I died when the judge sentenced me at 21 years old. My soul died. However,
did you wild out when they said, because I'm just, you'll be different in the situation, but if somebody said that to me, my personality, I'll be like, yo, what?
I was
like, how was you when they
paralyzed with shock? Internally, I did all of that, but I didn't have, my muscles were so weak and limp from the fatigue
of just hearing it.
Damn. I couldn't move, man. I was paralyzed with shock, man. I really couldn't move, man. I was catatonic. Like, I can't believe this has happened to me. And I didn't take the onus of responsibility off myself. How did I let my life get to this point? What did I ever do to get in this kind of situation? And I'm used to being in situations where I can move myself out of in one way or another. This was immovable. I didn't have a resource. I didn't have a phone call to make. I didn't have a trump card to play. So I took it on the chin, man. And in the words of most fighters, particularly Mike Tyson, everybody got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Then everything changes, man. That sentence, man, was a blow, man. It was a death blow.
Man, so, like, what would you say is... I'm trying to think, like, what's something that you really missed on the outside? Because you're only 21 years old. You didn't get to experience much of life.
Well, I lived an active life, man. I traveled.
Did you miss women?
I missed everything. You go through so many
Were you
phases.
dating when you were incarcerated?
Yeah, actually, I actually was.
Before right in the midst of it?
Yeah, I was a dater, man. I enjoy being in relationships. I'm a relationship kind of guy. And you go through phases, man. You miss the superficial things first. You miss your clothes, you miss your car, you miss your cologne, you miss your women, you miss the way you move around. And as time go on, if you are evolving, you start to miss more domestic things like taking a bath, carpet on your feet, a soft chair, a full-size bed as opposed to a bunk with a sheet of metal up under it with a mattress this thick. You miss petting a dog. You miss hearing the voice of a child playing. Stuff most people take for granted every day. You miss opening the refrigerator to get a glass of water. You just miss the smell of trees, of pine, of grass, of food, of restaurants. You miss nightlight. See, in prison, you're never outside at night, ever. You miss squinting your eyes at a bright light in the darkness. You miss all of these things that many people take for granted, man. You miss what tree bark feels like on your hand.
All right, you've seen the movie Shawshank Redemption.
Most definitely.
It's a very popular movie, and I wanted to ask you a question, like your take on Andy Dufresne, I think his name was, the guy that was, how do we say it, unjustly convicted. Right. They said he had this feeling like he wasn't in prison.
Yeah, I had been told that. I had been ridiculed for that. even though I was in all that inner turmoil, I was always told that I act like